Okay, welcome back to the Dublin Academy of Maths. Okay, remember that you can find me in Gmail. Okay, Dublin Academy at gmail.com. Now, today is Series 2, Episode 6, Leaving Cert Ordinary Level Maths, LOM. That's the code for it now. Okay, and we're doing functions, inverse functions and quadratic functions. Okay, now this I'm not going to go through these at the moment. I'm going to go through them afterwards. Okay, this is find the inverse function of each of the following and solve the following and draw on the number line. Okay, quadratic. Now I'll just move this over. Now, what is a function? Right, let's put this out then. So f of x is equal to x squared minus 1. We did this the other day, I think. We did something similar to this before. Now, it says, how can I solve this? How can I find the solutions to this? Okay, well, I can either solve it by trial and error, which will be put in. It's not a cubic equation. It's a difference of two squares, as you can see there. Okay, so well, if I was to solve it, I would go x squared minus 1 is equal to 0, x squared is equal to 1, x is equal to the square root of 1, and the answer is plus or minus 1. Okay, so the square root of 1 is plus or minus. Anything in the square root, there's always a negative factor as well, a root. Okay, now this is also the same as the difference of two squares, x plus 1. Okay, and that equals 0, and that's the same way, x is equal to 1 or x is equal to minus 1. Right? Now, right, so there you got the factors, plus and minus 1. Now, just to let you know that f of x is y. So if I put in a value for x, if I put in any value for x, I've done this so many times, I get out a corresponding root or a solution. Okay, so when x is equal to 3, y is equal to 8. Okay, well, I can do that again. So when x is equal to 3, so that's the combination 3, 8. X and y, 3, 8. Okay. Now, so that's just what I'm doing here is I'm building up your understanding of how functions work. Now, if I find solutions of this, I put in 1. I know my solutions are x is equal to 1 or minus 1. Okay, if I have a quadratic or a cubic equation, I would start do a range of them, and I will show you that in the next episode. Okay, now this is minus 1 and that's plus 1. Okay, so that's there. Now, say if I had a line going across there and I call that, say, 2x plus 1. Now I can find the solutions of that when I say that's g of x. So g of x is equal to 2x plus 1. Now, where do I find these positions of intersection? Well, when these positions of intersection, it means that when you make one equal to the other, when I make fx equal to g of x, okay? Which in other words means that f of x minus g of x is equal to 0. And I should be able to solve it. Okay, so you got x squared minus 1 minus g, so it's everything minus 2x plus 1. And you got x squared minus 1 minus 2x minus 1 is equal to 0. And I have 1 minus, so I've got x squared minus 2x minus 2 is equal to 0. Okay, now that's going to give me decimal points. Okay, because there's no factors. When it will give me minus 2, because the minus 2 factors is 1 by minus 2. None of them are going to go, so you're going to have to use the formula. Right? So that's just to let you know how to solve lines on cubic or quadratic equations. Now I will do this again in more detail. Now I just want to look at a few points here. So this is y, as we know, and this is x. So this graph is related to y. So y is there to x squared. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to g of x is equal to 2x plus 1, right? Okay. Now the next one I want to do is say, for example, I want to find the inverse of f of x. And I'm getting into solving this. Now that is a function, okay? When you put a value in for x, you put it into the function or the compute, and it comes out an output, okay? So, if I want to get the inverse of that, inverse of x, right? You change the direction back to x, okay? So I'm putting that x in there. I'll do that again. It doesn't look too. So what I'm doing is I'm changing the direction. See that? Right? And I have to bring everything over and make x. So I'm going to read from the right hand side, left hand side. And I'm still doing, that's the same equation. They are both the same except I'm reading left to right. Okay? Now I bring the minus 1 over, and that becomes x squared goes to x plus 1. And then x goes to squared becomes a square root sign. X plus 1. So the inverse of x is the square root of x plus 1. Right? Now we'll do another simpler one maybe. We'll do g of x. So remember, you're reversing, you're going back through the function. Okay? It's just manipulating the formula. Okay? 2x plus 1. That's g of x. Now if I want to invert that, so g inverse of x, change the direction sign. Okay? Now I just give it, I ignore this and I just continue. Minus 1, minus 1, 2x. Okay, so remember the sign is on the left hand side of it. I get rid of the 2 and it becomes, well, I can change it around. I could have changed it around originally, which I should have done, because you know that this is the same. X plus 1 goes to x. 2x goes to x minus 1. X goes to x minus 1 all over 2. And that's the inverse of g of x. Right? Now, next, so that's the inverse is done. Now the next is quadratic inequalities. So these are all quadratics. So let's have another look at another quadratic. And f of x goes to x squared minus x minus 12. And it's greater than or equal to 0. Now, it says solve the quadratic. Solve the quadratic. Or quadratic inequality, which is what it is, because it's got a greater than or equal to sign. And graph the solution set. So this is all now, you have to put this now on visual, okay? And when you visualize it, you get the idea of what's happening. So how do I find the solutions of this? Well, we know that the factors of x squared is x by x. The factors of minus 12, when added, will give you by 4. Will give you the coefficient of the middle term. Okay, now which one adds to give me the coefficient of the middle term? It's this one here. Okay, 3 minus 4 is minus 1. So it doesn't matter where I put it, minus 4. I still have the same solutions. Okay, greater than or equal to 0. Don't forget your signs and don't drop them. X plus 3 is greater than or equal to 0, or x minus 4 is greater than or equal to 0. X is greater than or equal to minus 3. X is greater than or equal to 4. Right, so there's your range. X. Now you have to put x in the middle. X is greater than or equal to minus 3, and this greater than or equal to 4. Right, so so that's our range. Okay, now we draw the graph out because we know these are the solutions. So we would draw the graph. It's a quadratic graph, and it's a positive quadratic graph, so it goes in that direction. If it was negative, it would go a hump like this. Now from this graph, you can see that this is minus 3 and this is 4. Now, the question is how solve the quadratic and graph the solution set. So where is the solution set? Where is x greater than 4? X is greater than 4 along here. And where is x greater than minus 3? Okay, along here, right? Where x is greater than minus 3. This would be minus 4, so that's less than. Okay, because minus 4 is less than minus 3. Okay, it's a concept. So that's your solution set. And they would ask you other things like, but I won't go into it now, but that'll give you an idea of what's happening. Let's try an inequality with a negative sign. So we have minus x squared plus 4x plus 12 is greater than 0. And it says solve it on the number line for which f of x is greater than 0. Alright, so now we're doing this relating to y. Where is y greater than 0? Okay, so to solve this solution I need to multiply everything crossed by a minus. Okay, so I'll multiply everything crossed by a minus, x squared minus 4x minus 12. Okay, now I'll leave this out and make it equal to 0, because if you multiply a minus you change the direction of the sign, and I don't want to get into that now, but we can deal with it practically. But anyway, you see I got rid of the minus, okay, by multiplying everything across by minus. What I do to one side I must also do to the other. Now, solving this, what's the factors of x squared when added will give me minus 12, minus 4. What's the factors of minus, I'll do that again, what's the factors of minus 12? Will add to give me minus 4. Okay, so this looks like it's 6. Okay, 6 by 2, 6 by minus 2. I'm looking for minus 4 here, they add to give me minus 4. So it's x minus 6 plus 2. Okay, that looks great. Now that quadratic, because it's a negative, and I have the values, what's the values? X is equal to 6 or minus 2. So there's minus 2 we'll say, and we'll have this minus 6. Sorry, minus 2 is out here. One way around, that's plus 6, and this is minus 2. Okay, this is just a kind of a surmising. But anyway, it's roughly, yes, what it looks like. Okay, now remember along here, this is the line where y is equal to 0, or f of x is equal to 0. Right, so they're your solutions. Right? What's the solutions when f of x is greater than 0? Where is y greater than 0? That's the question. Right, we're getting back to this. Where is y greater than 0? Looking from the graph, looking up from the graph, every time I go up this way, this is 0 in here. Okay, so y is increasing here. So y increases from minus 2. And you can put it related to x. It will be greater than minus 2, or equal to minus 2, and less than or equal to 6. So it's actually this, okay, where it's greater than 0. Yeah, so it's that part. It's rising. Now this is the maximum point. Okay, the maximum turning point, or in derivatives, in calculus, we would call it the maximum point. Okay, you can look at it on the graph. That seems to be everything. Now remember, okay, so that's a negative curve, right? Now you can have many curves, right? Many types. They have them like this, and you have to fill in the values and sort them out. Then you know, x goes in the range between 6 and minus 2, and you put them in. This is f of x, okay? But now this is another one. 2x squared minus 4x is greater than 0. Now that's another function f of x. Now this is a quadratic, but I can factorize this, but it's not the normal for factors. Okay, I have to do my common factor, and we had this before. 2x. Okay, so the lowest 2x by x gives me x squared. 2x by what will give me minus 4x. 2x by minus 2. Okay, greater than 0. And I associate this with this, so I got 2x greater than 0, x is greater than 0, because 2 and the 0 is 0, x minus 2 is greater than 0, x is greater than 2. And there's my values. 0 for x and 2. X is greater than 2, but not including 2, it's greater than 2, and it's greater than 0. Okay, so there's your values there. But remember this type, and this type we have a question here and here related to that. And this function question here, I'm getting back to the questions now. That's complete. So this function questions here, these function questions, find the inverse function f of minus 1 of x. So you just move them back. Okay, put the arrow in and move them in the other direction. Solve the following and draw the number line. Okay, so you solve them, you make sure you follow your signs. Okay, greater than, less than, or equal to. Okay, and you draw it like I did. Okay, you put in your points and then you just get the curve around it and draw the curve in. And see what else, see what I've been trying to get at with solving lines, and you know, when we had a curve and then we could solve another line within it, you know, all this area. Okay, so that's great. Do those questions and I'll see you in the next round. Thank you.